being recorded, so don't say anything that you'd be embarrassed about or give away any trade secrets. Great, and we'll get started. So again, I'm Noreen Wiedmer, and so I'm the president and owner of Networking with Impacts Business Solutions, or NWI Business Solutions, and we run an advisory team, and it consists of outstanding professionals who have an abundance of experience, especially working with mid-sized companies, like those from about like 1 million to about 200 million, 30 employees up to like no more than 1,000. And so especially, we usually do these live, but we've adapted because of the COVID. And then we'll be actually doing the webinars. I think we're going to always do webinars. In fact, we're building a learning platform so that you can, besides sending off the recorded or the slides, the recordings are always on our website under the events page. But we also, we want to take you one step further. So what Nicole's going to share today, she has a lot of materials and class materials that can then take you through, okay, when you leave and go, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that. We're going to show you how to do that so that you're not just left feeling bad, and go, what do I do next? So that learning platform should be ready by the end of the month with some very exciting training, and you'll all be invited to that as well. So, so the topic today is how difficult is employee retention? And there's the illustration of a gentleman who is handcuffed to his desk. And I think that's the end of the program right there. I think we just lock them up. Really with, especially those very skilled employees, if they can come back to the office or not, you do not want to lose them, because even though, there's a lot of unemployed people out there, it's, do they have the skill that you need? And that's what Nicole is going to help coach us on today. So the program today then is, we are going to, again, just tell you a little bit more about housekeeping, about how to use the system here. Then of course, Nicole, she actually is going to be presenting for about at least 30 minutes. And then we're going to have question and answer time, again, for, pertaining to her topic. So again, jot down notes, or if you're like me and you sometimes your brain retention isn't the greatest, just jot them into the chat box, and Jenny, my assistant, my wonderful assistant, she'll be watching the chat box as well, so that we can, throw your questions into the ring as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to also ask you guys some questions about what you would like for your next programs. And we're going to let you do some networking, because we want to know who you are and, give your company a plug and how can we help you. Okay. So it's all coming up. Okay. So these are our members currently of our advisory board that we have currently. So from apprenticeship program training, a fabulous Mark, a fabulous CPA from Porte Brown. Of course, Gwen, who is my marketing right arm. Heidi Hattendorf, who's a transformation executive. She was a top executive from Motorola. Ginger Imes from Presidio Insurance. Sandra Larkin from Lead Like a Pro. She's our leadership and team building coach. Dr. Matt Leotine, who has, he specializes in Six Sigma, innovation, and procurement. His PhD is in supply chain, and he's a professor at UIC. And then, of course, Kim Poplar, who is with Nexus Communications, great security products from sign-in systems to cameras. And then, of course, myself, my expertise is teaching sales and marketing. So, okay, so again, a little bit of housekeeping. So on your control panel, there is a little, well, of course, we're going to keep everybody muted. Of course, we'll mute you and ask you specific questions. The chat box is where you can again add comments, questions, give a little applause or a thumbs up if you agree as well, so that we can get your reactions. Okay. And we are ready to go to Nicole. So let me find you, Nicole, so that I can unmute you. There is that beautiful lady. Oh, there you are. Gosh. So I am so excited to have Nicole, as she is really I'm excited about the friendship that we're building too, because she just inspires me. Whatever you eat for breakfast and, keeps you going, you have more energy, and the only person who talks faster than I do. So I just love you, and you've really rescued a lot of my clients. She works hand in hand with Becky, who's also on our team. Again, Becky really concentrates on the apprenticeship programs, where Nicole does everything HR. And so, well, you got to hear what some of her accolades here. We just don't even have enough time to write them all down. Girlfriend, every time you give me this list, you add more things to it. So in fact, so of course, she's the chief empowerment officer. And then she also has a business associate, Sandy Moran, who is also on the line. And how many associates do you have, Nicole?
17, and we just sent out another offer yesterday, so we're going to 18.
18, all right. So she can do actually, in-house work for you, or virtually, depending on what you're comfortable with and your needs. But she was just honored by the last honor she was most recently was one of the Mirror Review's 10 game-changing women in 2019. She's an awardee of the Business Excellence by the Chicago Daily Herald. In 2016, she was the Enterprising Woman of the Year champion by Enterprising Women magazine. Of course, she is a very sought-after expert with her knowledge and advice being featured in newspapers and magazines. She also is she hosts an online presentation, or is it a podcast?
It actually was a video show, HR in the Fast Lane.
Good. Is it still on?
It's something that I did for 5 years. I own the marketing brand of it, but I haven't put in any new videos of it lately, but it's interviews with C-suite leaders around Chicago. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on our knowledge center at hrboost.com. And it'll basically preview for you the networking I did for a number of years with people that you might want to meet and greet with, and I'd be happy to intro you. So I encourage you to go check it out. And it's got a lot of content, open-ended conversations with fiduciaries around Chicago about anything that is HR topic in the fast lane.
There you go. All right. Thank you for the offer. Great. She also, too, in her spare time, she's been writing some wonderful bestsellers, The Talent Emergency, also, too, the Talent Emergency Guidebook that goes with that, The Human Side of Profitability, The Power of Joy and Purpose, and her newest co-authored book is No Fear Negotiation for Women. And she's also sits on a number of boards dedicated to human capital, culture, and HR excellence, and is included in the best and brightest companies to work for, and also including social services in the community and women in the community. When do you sleep? And she is just, so she's not just about her business and her clients. She is really out there helping the community as a whole. So thank you so much, especially during this trying time, and for spending time with us.
Oh, thank you.
So then just give me a little tip on when you want me to change this slide.
Okay, yeah, I will. I'll do that. Thank you so much. I can't believe you just ran through all that professional resume stuff, right? It's like, yes, it's all out there, but they're all passion projects that led to those recognitions. And once you get one, other PR organizations just find you and want to do it again and again and again. And believe it or not, I get emails now from other ones, and it's like, no, thank you. I don't need any more press. Thank you. So just know that's the professional introduction. But my personal introduction would be, I'm a country girl in disguise from Montana. I'm somebody that basically eats, drinks, and breathes HR, because I came up from the front desk of a business all the way to the C-suite, to the best and brightest status, to sustainable, transition of business owners to selling for those CEOs that I worked for a number of years. Built my business by accident, essentially, have an incredible team. But it is my workplace ministry. If you were to know what it was in a nutshell for me, what am I running on, Noreen? Not caffeine. I'm running on God's grace, my passionate gifts, sending them forth, and bringing joy and purpose to people through their work. Everyone deserves it, not just us entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs that we serve. Every person who puts their handprint on your business, shows up, comes to you every day. If you're not sharing that heart with them, they're not engaging you with their presence, heart, mind, body, soul. So just know I run a workplace ministry. I work on my service, my joy, and giving all that energy to others. So thank you so much, Noreen. So yeah, basically today, we were really going to just talk about these 5 areas of how we, any of us on this call, plus all the people you're coming across, beat the pandemic with an HR perspective. A lot of businesses, as we all know, have been in triage since March. Some of them are really just focused on their cash flow, their financials, their loans, their idle loans, their PPP loans. Are we going to get another round? Just distraction of devastation from watching as you drive through town. And on the morning news today, Ruth Chris going out of business. Yesterday, Regal Cinema going out of business. So you guys, it's just going to keep happening as we go into Q4. And it's going to be a tough Q4, which is why the things we're doing at HR Boost going forward is mental health, first aid for operational leaders, because we really think that's going to be the focus in Q4. And that's going to be our freebie out to the world. But bringing it out to you guys, how do we beat the pandemic and really get much more HR focused from every perspective that people really are focused on, which are these 5: leadership bucket, marketing bucket, operations, finance, and technology. A lot of middle market businesses that you serve don't have HR, right? So it's coming back to these conversations at the table. And it's really important that they never forget that they can have a strategic HR thought and integration in supporting these typical 5 areas that every business focuses on, but they forget that HR is not the personnel department anymore. It's the human capital, profit center that they can tap into. So this is why we're going to focus on this right now. So we'll just move forward. And I think what we're going to kick off with, right, Noreen, is some Q&A to get your mind going and make it a little interactive so that you don't fall asleep while I'm talking fast. The lull of my voice. Here we go. What percent, you guys, of CEOs could be convicted, and I mean guilty, of culture by design? How many, you guys are out there shaking hands, meeting people, doing meet and greets and Zoom and Zoomed out since March? How many of them that you talk to, do you think are really, that if they met me, Nicole Martin, I'd say, guilty, you've done it. Culture by design, not by default. Lori says A. Victoria says C. Gwendolyn, C. Wow. So you guys are having some good discussions then, right? Those of you that said B and C, with what I call the gift of COVID right now, which is, you guys, the answer is A. 10 to 15% of CEOs, only 10% are really guilty of culture by design. And why is that? It's because a lot of them, as much as we think that there's been a big shift. Oh, it says your speaker's not working. Can you hear me okay, Noreen?
Yes, we can. And then I was just going to mention to you, Nicole, since we do have one person on the phone, if you could just list off what A, B, and C is.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I don't know why it's saying the speaker's not working. If you can hear me, just know that. It says
you're doing a great job.
Okay, good. Okay, so it's A was 10 to 15%, which is the correct answer for the actual percentage of CEOs, broadly speaking, that can be convicted guilty. But B was 15 to 25%, a step higher, and C, 40 to 50%, saying over half of the people that are running businesses can be convicted of culture by design. The answer was A. And the reason this is important for you to understand and highlight what I said right before I took off a tangent on the speaker was, right now, the gift of COVID, as I meet with leaders and see what the shift is going on behind the scenes, is finally, and I do mean capital finally. I've been talking about this since 2015 when I wrote The Talent Emergency, and that stat is in that book. It was fact. But the gift of COVID, you guys, is now suddenly everybody is starting to come and say, yes, what do I do about my people? How do I make my people feel safe? How do I keep them on board? How do I, all those different things that became much more myopic and personally focused about the heart. And to me, every meeting I have since March, I've been, thank God, finally people are asking me these questions, right? It's how do we have a culture by design, which is something I specialize in. So it is a trend for those of you that said, Gwen, Lori, those of you, Lori knew it, but those of you that are on the other side, maybe you're talking to some CEOs right now that have a change of thought, a change of perspective, and amen. Hallelujah. I'd love to see that metric go up, but it still stands at 10%, just so you know. Okay, next. So the worst scoring culture metric in most organizations today is A, trust, B, cross-functional communication, interdepartmental communication, C, process improvement and change management, or D, accountability. Ding, ding, ding. Do I see anything? Ooh, I saw somebody say A. I saw somebody say C. Ooh, A's, C's, or B. Ah, good one. So the ones of you that said A, you're right. A is, it's trust. Trust is the number one thing, worst ranking metric in all the metrics I've ever done within business surveys and employee surveys, etc. Trust is broken. It's been broken for a long time. As you know, the paradigm shift has really made businesses, I mean, ever since the 90 days of like right sizing and downsizing, and then you come into the forward metric of how businesses are rolling, and the fact that we didn't develop our talent and the economy, and then there was more other roles of recession in 2008, 2009, and it just keeps going. And then we were like, whoa, at our peak of our game in business community. But then this big thing of trust ties back to safety, ties back, do we really say the truth? Do we really get past the fact that we're who we are at home and who we are at work? Or did we really say, no, you can be 100% yourself, 100% at work? Do we see people who they are? Do we invite them in to be themselves at work? This is something that we're still working on. So trust. And the other areas, very important also, B, C, and D, that communication, it's everything right now. Up, down, vertical, horizontal, you name it. We cannot communicate enough, and we can't encourage people on a mandated basis to be having their one-on-ones with people that are working virtually still. Process improvement, change management. It's not about change management. It's about change leadership. Everybody needs to be change leading from wherever they stand. And we practice that at HR Boost. And then we also teach people how to do that. But accountability, you can't have accountability without trust, because no one's really spoken their piece. And so we don't have truth on the table. So trust, just know, think about your personal life when you think about trust in business. If you bite your tongue across the living room and you're married and you didn't speak what's on your mind, what does that happen to the marriage over time? Any guesses?
Damages it.
It dies. Yeah, it dies. So just think that's the first step in complacency and lack of trust and communication when people are walking down the hall, old school ways when we were in the office. And I do serve essential businesses that haven't shut down at all in Chicagoland. We have a number that are growing also in different industries, IT, for example, logistics, some companies that are growing. But for the most part, it's really something that we got to always remember. Are we really being real? Are we really being honest? Are we really keeping it focused on the issue, not the person? We're not doctors. We're not allowed to diagnose, except the PhD, maybe. The gentleman who said, you told me you had a PhD, not a medical doctor still, so I don't think we should be diagnosing, but just know. It's always you for compliments, I when I speak my voice. If you're saying you to somebody and it's not a compliment, inkshnay, come back. You don't diagnose. You ask why and listen and then plug yourself in. Okay, next, let's roll. Okay. Creating that high performance culture again, it's a process, not an event. I can talk to people all day and they'll be like, well, we ran a culture survey and we have culture. Like, well, did you do it when? So this comes to this question. Which of the following is optimal, optional, and going forward in building a performance culture? A, baseline measurements in the voice of the people, establishing that baseline, getting that voice. B, a trend over time with pulse checks. I'm sure you've heard the term pulse surveys. And having rigor around that, it's consistent. C, sharing the data. Hello, I was just in a company yesterday, on site interviewing all of their workforce, face-to-face, high touch, you guys, and 100-year in business company. Can you imagine? 5th generation. And the biggest hesitation among workforce, will they come back and tell us what you're hearing? So C, sharing the data with the entire participant group after you've gathered the data. Or D, none of the above. Again, what's the optional? Which the optional one? You could either take away A, take away B, take away C. Which one could you live without? Victoria Charles to everyone says D. Lori says C. It is an important one, C. Any other guesses? D. Okay. I heard that, Noreen. D. And my own booster said D. And those of you that said D, it's not a downer, it's an upper, because you're right. It's all of the above. You absolutely cannot have a culture by design or engage a high performance culture if you do any of these things just once. You must do them all again and again and again, like washing your hair, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. If you don't do this, it is not committed. Culture changes by the day. You have a new hire come in, you have a toxic person leave, you have somebody come in and pitch something. I mean, COVID happens, any kind of external influence. Culture changes by the day. And it's really important that you're always recalibrating and you're always re-engaging the voice of the people so that it's a what? Two-way conversation, not just one way, not top down, two-way. And what kind of mechanism are you doing that? And what kind of way are you doing that to reinforce it regularly in your business? Again and again, and talking about it, sharing the data, and hopefully engaging that two-way conversation. So great participation on that one. I loved hearing those D's. You guys are on it. Okay, next one. Working on culture takes extra work and time. It's not the right time, Nicole. I can't do this right now. Maybe next year, maybe Q4, maybe after COVID 2021. True or false? I hear a true, another true. There's Kim saying a true. Yeah. Working on culture takes extra work and time. Interesting. Any more trues? Do I get any falses from the group? If you're a falser, raise your hand. Were you a false? Oh boy, there's my booster. Hey, girlfriend, Sandy, you got it right. It is false. It is absolutely false if you think working on culture takes extra work and time. Because guess what? If they're not working on culture, they're spending extra work on time on all the burned energy to replace people, the cost litigation, whatever goes down in their house and burns to the ground, left in ashes. Oh my God, was that blood, sweat, and tears? And that costs a lot, a whole lot, and a whole lot more than the time and energy it takes to do it right the first time, every time, again and again. I promise you. So it's not really going to be taking them any more time. They're just going to be spending their time better. They're going to be investing their energy better. Why? Because then they'll tap into that discretionary effort of their people that people only give when they really care. And people don't really care unless you really show you care about them. So that's a good one. Hopefully that one kind of turned it around for you, flip the script on it, and it'll remind you that, yeah, people who aren't spending time and energy, they're going to spend a whole lot more, not that extra. Okay, let's go. 5, effective culture work can improve the net margin by 4% to 17%. Bottom line, true or false? I'm looking. Do I see any? Ooh, Kim says true. What else do I see? Jenny says true. Ooh, ooh. Got another true, Noreen. Miss Sandy. Very nice, you guys. They're rolling in one after the other. You guys got a winner. It is true. If somebody actually puts $1 down right now on the table and they said, Nicole, could I get 17% back on that dollar if I invested in culture? The answer is yes. You can absolutely get, and it's proven, a return on investment on investing in your culture. How? With leading indicators. Things that aren't just engagement. Engagement's only 20% of the pie. And if you were thinking it was just engagement, I have a blog out there called, Did You Think That ROI Was Only Based on Engagement? Wrong. And it's a picture of a pie on my blog. And it literally is, no, engagement's only 20% of the pie. What are those other leading indicators? It's really important. We're baselining the measurements on leading indicators, not descriptive old facts. Most HR departments run with like turnover metric. What did we spend last year? How many people came in? Just hard metrics. And really, it's got to be measuring much more deep in terms of performance metrics, like job satisfaction, engagement. How many people did we make versus buy on professional and personal development? How do we help people grow here holistically? Some companies in the best and brightest circle actually invest and will pay for classes that have nothing to do with the job. And this is where we're going in the future. Wellness. Are you well? Are you healthy? Your nutrition, things that are progressive. Lori can even talk about this. Lori knows not every company has a wellness program. That's still progressive. We've been talking about it, what, Lori? 10, 15 years? Yeah. So we have to actually do this stuff. So just know that if companies do it right and they invest in those right things, they will absolutely have a return on investment. And that is what I meant in the beginning when I said HR is a profit center. Promise you, if it's done right, it is profit, not the old school overhead department. Okay, let's go. Where are we going next, Noreen? Here we are. Now we're going to dive into those 5 typical areas that everybody speaks of in business. If they are in business, if they've hired somebody, if they run a business, they have meetings and they talk about all those 5 metrics I put out. And the first one, area, leadership. I put a focus area under there for you to have it, shared leadership. A lot of people you talk to, they understand my language. They were coming up on the language and they kind of had servant leadership in mind. But servant leadership is like, you work for me and I'm here for you. And I invest in you. I'm your coach instead of your judge, right? I work to serve you. That's servant leadership. And it's very important. But really the direction you should be focused on right now to beat the pandemic, you have to accelerate from servant leadership to shared leadership. Shared leadership is actually that we create something together. To be collaborative, it doesn't mean we just work nice with each other. It means we built something together. We brought these gifts to these gifts, put them together. Look what we built new. Shared creation. So think about how you're working within your environment with your teams to create something together so that everybody had a handprint on it, even if it's the new revenue stream, the new project, the learning platform, for example, Noreen. If you go to mine and you look in the Knowledge Center, I'm not the only one with webinars out there. A lot of boosters have content out there too.